So, what is the secret to a long and glorious life? Good morning, my friends. It's John here on the back deck with my fabulous mug of coffee. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day. It's chilly this morning, so I have my big, thick sweater on and my hat. And I'm just enjoying being out here in this fall weather with the leaves turning behind me, and it's just a beautiful morning. I am my 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 son's mother, my second wife, had a grandmother who we called Graham, and my son called Great Graham. um, Her real name was Fanime. She was Syrian, and so everyone knew her as Fanny. And one day I asked Graham, what was the secret to long life? At the time, I think she was 96 when I asked her that question. And her response was, if I stop, I'll die. Graham had an amazing life. She lived alone at 96. She would get up in the morning. She'd come down to the kitchen. She'd have a cup of black coffee and Syrian toast, Syrian bread toasted with butter and jam. And she would eat her Syrian toast as she made the list of the chores she had to achieve that day. And she would sit down and she would write out her list. And then she would not do anything else. She wasn't allowed to turn the TV on until 5 o'clock because it was 5 o'clock was when the workday ended. She would get up and she would do chores all day long. She'd cleaning, picking up things, she'd, all day long she had chores, and she'd get up and down stairs, the whole bit. She would record her soap opera on a VHS tape that she had for a million years. And at 5 o'clock, she would sit down and she would watch her soap opera because the workday was over. In that moment, of course, the neighbors could hear the soap opera because it was loud. She couldn't hear a thing. But the last year of her life, her chores became get the house ready for the kids. And she started getting everything, finding out who wanted what. And she started doing all the things in alignment with, the end, pretty much. And she moved out of the house, and 2 months later, she was gone. She decided to stop. I watched the video yesterday. It was really inspiring for me. It was a group of centenarians talking about the things that made their life long. And, they mentioned exercise, saying keep your body moving. And they all had different ways of doing that. Most of them leaned into walking. They all had said diet's important, but none of their diets were the same. One of them wouldn't eat meat. The other one had steak every day. They didn't smoke. They didn't drink to excess. They would occasionally have a little sip of something, but there was nothing in that regard of diet that was in any way, shape, or form changing their lifestyle. They did say don't get overweight. That was one of the big ones that they did say. But when it came down to the real core principles of what they found to be important, it was very interesting to me because the things that they said were more along the lines of what I teach. The number one thing they said is that love is the foundation of longevity. I have a notes on my phone here. That love is the foundation of longevity, finding love in your life and being love in your life and expressing love in your life. And you can find a partner, but the important part is to find a partner that resonates with you and your beliefs. That was one of the most important things. He said, love nourishes your long life, and it calms the heart, and that calm nature of love expands your joy. Also said that the body aligns in harmony when you're focusing on being loving. Going once again, keep moving, but not only in body, but in spirit. Find things to keep your mind active, find things to keep moving forward and doing. One of the guys literally said, I don't let the old man in. And I love that line. He literally said he didn't let the old man in because he was being a young man. At 100 years old, still driving his car, he was lifting weights, he was doing all kinds of things. And he said, "I just don't let the old man in." And I thought that was wonderful. He was the one who didn't eat the meat, though. And the concept of keeping your mind active as well is huge because I'm always looking for things to do, projects to do. That's why I do like the old farts workshop stuff you know, now working with the videos. I'm thoroughly enjoying that. But you have to keep your mind in active motion. If you're not in active motion, you're stagnating. You don't want your mind to stagnate. And they said, think young and stay curious. Think young and stay curious. The concept of thinking young, it's a matter of like the young are always exploring and they're always diving into new things and expressing new things. And they're always curious about things. They hear something and they dive into the topic further, which leads me to something else that they said was important to their long life. You're going to laugh when I say it. The internet. One of them was talking about how when you ever want to learn anything, you had to go to the library and look it up. He's now all the information is right at your fingertips, and it keeps my mind curious, and I keep going down the rabbit holes of the internet. And they all said the internet is important for growth, but you have to be careful about what you're watching on there because some people are not using it for good means, and so they're all saying very careful. But the internet was a huge part of their longevity was literally being able to explore with their mind all the time. The next one they talked about was accept loss without losing your heart. You understand that these 100-year-olds have lost friends and family. One lady lost both of her sons and her husband to old age, which was really interesting. Um, but they said, loss teaches that life can be impermanent, but that you should not despair in those moments because that's just life. The heart learns to love without clinging. You love without needing the attachment to complete yourself. And that to me was a beautiful statement because it really came down to, your acceptance isn't a resignation, it's grace. Your acceptance of their passing, your acceptance of their going over. And spiritually, grief is the polishing of the soul that makes it shine brighter. I love that line. Your grief allows those people to pass, but the blessing of having their love in your life in the first place was huge. The second part is understanding that you know you don't have to lose them because they're always in your memory. Another thing they said was serve, create, and stay useful. Find things that are helpful. Find things that give purpose to your life. Serve your family, even if it's just to be a listening ear or a kind comment or advice. Because you got 100 years of life behind you, you might have some good advice, and oftentimes that advice is based in mindset rather than technical expertise. But it does come down to understanding that mindset itself is life giving and creates a longer life. The number 6 thing was be grateful and let go of negativity. Keep the mind positive, like the Bhagavad Gita said, and like Mother Teresa said, and being in that positive state. Be grateful for what you do have. Be grateful for the things in your life. Gratitude is faith in action. You believe it's good, so you're shown the good around you because you believe it. They focus on what's right instead of what's missing. They focus on the good things instead of what's not gone from their life. Grief will leave you forever struggling with that, and understanding the ones who left us, they've just gone on to the next level of life, and you'll be there soon enough. But enjoy what you have while you're here. And they talked about forgiveness. Don't hold on to things because holding on to things just keeps you dragged down. So they said, let go of resentment. When you stop feeding the negative, the positive begins to overflow. It was a beautiful line. Number 7 was be generous with time and money and kindness. Be open and free and deliver that love clearly and effortlessly. And if you love coffee, take a drink. Mm-mm-mm. And the thing about, to live long is to live open handed. It was a wonderful thing. You're giving freely of yourself and you're giving freely of what you have to give. And that helps them with their long life because it makes them feel good. The number 8, one of my favorites is live simply and be present. Be here in the now. Don't worry about all the excess stuff because you don't need it anyway. Just to live very clearly in the present and enjoy the interactions with the people you love around you. Connect to the people. That's the most important thing. And you do that in the present. The stuff doesn't matter, the people do. And that was one of the big things. So this whole concept of living a long life that they spoke of, and that's what was all of the list, is all about that present moment awareness that you can be loved, that you can be in the now, and the things that are important are not the stuff, it's the people, it's the love connection, it's the reaching out and sharing and helping and the gratitude and the generosity and the simply being positive. They all had different diets, they all had different exercise routines, they all had different things, but the key of keeping the body in motion, life is motion, and the world is an energy event in motion, and our job is to live within that energy event in motion, and help people and be helpful to ourselves by simply loving and being present and living simply. The I love this video that I saw, and if I can find that video again, I'll put a link in the description, but it all broke down to this very simple life of just loving. And to me, that's the most important thing in all of this, is that it is simple. Of course, I always say in my regression, I said, it's so simple, we have a hard time comprehending it. But it's simple. It's be present, be loving, and love yourself equally. Love yourself as equally, love your neighbors as you would want to be loved. Well, you have to love yourself as well. And understand that the people who have left us are just they just went home, and we're here, and we'll see them again. It'll be all part of that easy, beautiful moment when we cross over. But the one man is a retired dentist. He's over 100, drives every day, lifts weights every day. He says, "I think I got another 20 years," and I love that attitude, that childlike. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going. You keep going. Another lady was 107, and she said, "Well," she says, I think I'm winding down." And so that mindset, well, she'll wind down and she'll go to the other side easily and peacefully if that's what she so chooses. My father used to run, he was part of the volunteer fire company and part of the volunteer ambulance squad. And one day the ambulance squad got a call that said, we think we have a possible dead body. And the ambulance squad went to the house and they came into the house and they're like, "Where's the body?" And they pointed at the lady in the corner who was sitting there, eyes wide open, big smile on her face, a cup of tea in her hand. And she was just sitting there with just peace and joy, surrounded by people she loved, and as dead as a doornail. And I think we can all leave our life that way, joyfully, lovingly, caringly, as long as we choose to live that life. Choose to live in that love and compassion and joy and generosity. And so that when we cross from this life, we live beautifully present and fearless right to the end. That lady had a smile on her face with a cup of tea in her hand, surrounded by the people she loved. And that to me is beautiful. That is a beautiful crossing, a beautiful way to go. And I think the more we follow some of these rules that they talked about in this list, the more we follow those rules, I think the more of us could pass with that just smile on our face, surrounded by people we love, drinking a hot beverage. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, is what I'd like to talk about this morning. I hope you've had a fabulous week this week. I know that I absolutely did. Because of YouTube, I have to record these the week earlier so that YouTube has a week to figure out the audience for these videos. So I'm no longer doing these live on the Saturday mornings. I'm doing them the week before. Um, so if it looks like my weather's not what the weather says, that's why. But it is beautiful today. Chilly. The sweater feels great. The hat feels wonderful. And my time with you and my coffee is always fantastic. And I wanted to thank you. And I look forward to talking to you soon. See ya. Bye.